Questions for reflection. In our first reading, we continue in the book of Genesis with the last days of Jacob, also called Israel. In the chapter before this aging patriarch, the inheritor of the promises to Abraham and Isaac, blessed Joseph and his sons. Now he gives his last words to all of his sons, instructing them on where to bury him. And then he dies. But the brothers are most afraid of what will happen to them now that the father has passed away. They offer to be slaves to Joseph in Egypt. But the reaction of Joseph flows from his holiness, his relationship with the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They feared retribution from Joseph. Instead, we witness Joseph offering forgiveness, reconciliation, and restoration. Joseph reflects the love of God toward his brothers and becomes for us a source of inspiration and a tutor. How do we treat those who have harmed us? In our response, we sing the words of the psalmist David, quote, "Alleluia, give thanks to Yahweh, call on his name, proclaim his deeds to the peoples, sing to him, make music for him, recount all his wonders. Glory in his holy name, let the hearts that seek Yahweh rejoice. Seek Yahweh in his strength, tirelessly seek his presence. Stock of Abraham, his servant, children of Jacob, whom he chose. He is Yahweh our God. His judgments touch the whole world." End quote. We are the stock of Abraham. He is our father in faith. He's the model of a man who lived by faith and was accounted to be just because of his faith. The Apostle Paul devotes the entire 4th chapter of his letter to the Romans in the New Testament by explaining the deeper meaning of this. We should take time to read that chapter now and ask the Lord to help us understand it more fully. In the gospel appointed for today, we pick up with the instructions Jesus is giving to the 12 apostles about their mission. He tells them to not fear those who oppose them, rather to boldly proclaim the gospel in word and deed and to trust in him. Fear is not one of the most crippling and confounding of human emotional experiences, but it can lead its victim to a kind of life paralysis and wrong-headed judgments which only make the matter worse. One who is consumed by fear loses his or her capacity to see clearly along with their freedom. Have you ever had the experience of awakening from a dream paralyzed with fear, unable to speak or perhaps even move? Most people have. Some well-intended people tell us that such dreams can be the result of stress or worry over circumstances in our own lives. Knowing that may assist us in understanding our overreaction, but I'm not sure it helps alleviate the effects of fear. Let's face it, life can throw us its share of challenges, difficulties, and struggles that can be frightening and cause us to respond like we do in those terrible dreams. Though we may be able to physically move, we often live as though fear has the upper hand. Unable to overcome fear, we're overcome by it. Though we develop coping mechanisms over time or learn to hide the interior reactions caused by fear inside, they can paralyze us and impede us from living our lives to the full. This kind of crippling fear seems to be compounded when the events which trigger it multiply. They are multiplying. For example, it seems like we're being bombarded with news of catastrophes, crises, wars, bloodshed, calamities on a daily basis. As a writer, preacher, and Catholic deacon, I regularly use these crises as an opportunity to call people of faith to prayer and effective solidarity. However, I find myself and the people around me overwhelmed at the magnitude of it all these days. It gets to the point where we can fear opening the laptop, listening to the radio, or turning on the television. One of the effects of the saturation can be an increase of one of the most crippling human emotions, that misplaced fear and the anxiety that it breeds in our daily lives. The sacred scriptures, the Bible, is filled with admonitions against this kind of fear. Yet the admonitions alone will not help us overcome it. Only something stronger than fear, with the capacity to change us inside, can liberate us from its change. And that something is someone, the one who understands all our fears and has opened the way to overcoming them through and in the embrace of his redemptive love. And that someone is Jesus Christ. who became like us in all things but sin, so that we can become like him. In him, fear is overcome, swallowed up, and transformed by living faith and trust. The author of the letter to the Hebrews writes of Jesus, and I quote, "Now since the children share in blood and flesh, he, Jesus, likewise shared in them, that through death he might destroy the one who has the power of death, that is the devil, and free those who through fear of death had been subject to slavery all their life." That's Hebrews chapter 2. The Lord understands our fears because in his sacred humanity, he experienced them. He also enables us to overcome them. He removes the root and source of fear for those who choose to trust in him. Most fear is rooted in a lack of trust in God's love. Let's choose to reject fear and to walk in faith and freedom.